In this video, I'm going to show you how to stop drinking alcohol quickly. But before I do that, have a quick look at this incredible view. I mean, what a spot. Back when I drank alcohol, I used to have pictures of staying in places like this on a vision board. I used to pray that it would happen for me, but I just kept drinking alcohol and you know how it goes, right? I'd set goals, I'd never achieved them, I had a terrible relationship with myself, but through stopping drinking alcohol, I have literally achieved the life of my dreams. This might not be your dream, but it certainly was mine. And today I'm going to show you how I stopped drinking alcohol, because I did it without AA meetings, I didn't use willpower, I didn't use therapy, I used no medication, I didn't go to a rehab, yet I've not touched a drop of alcohol for almost 7 years. But when I drank, I drank. I mean, there were times where I'd be drinking, oh man, there was daily drinking, there was binge drinking, there were periods without drinking as well, but alcohol was the biggest source of pain in my life. But I managed to stop drinking alcohol, and what I've managed to do sober was what I always wanted to do as a drinker. What I wanted when I drank alcohol was, I wanted to feel good about myself. That was like the key. When I drank, I had no self-confidence, I had low self-esteem. And the reason why was because I always wanted to stop drinking alcohol. I promised myself I wouldn't drink, and then I'd relapse. So today I want to show you how I did it without calling myself an alcoholic, without doing what 99% of people are doing. I did it totally different. So I'm going to keep this short, straight to the point. I think you'll get a ton of value from this video. And very quickly, if you want instant access to a brand new video training that I've just finished showing you how to control alcohol in as little as 48 hours, then click the link in the description. This new method is not about using willpower, therapy, or AA meetings. It's totally different. I do not publish this video anywhere else online, and it's already changing thousands of lives. So click the link below for instant access. Once you're on the next page, enter your name and email address, and your free training will begin. It takes just 7 minutes to watch, but it'll feel like somebody flicks a switch in your brain. And honestly, I'm not sure when I'll start charging for this 7-minute video training. That's how good it is. But whilst it's still available, click the link below, enter your name and email address, and watch that video now. So when I drank, there was a period where I got sober on my own. It was actually through food poisoning. And my mum encouraged me to go to AA and NA. NA is the drug equivalent of Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't just drink, I also did other things, but I went to AA and NA. And I went for a short period of time. I thought I was an alcoholic. I thought that was what was wrong with me. And, that approach just didn't hit it for me. I didn't want to call myself an alcoholic for the rest of my life. I didn't want to go to these meetings. And quite frankly, I don't believe there's any such thing as an alcoholic. I think it's a made up self-help term. But I am not denying I had a drinking problem, and a bad one at that. I just didn't want to call myself an alcoholic. I tried to stop drinking with willpower, which is basically you never change your perception of alcohol, and you just spend your life resisting it. If a friend invites you out and there's alcohol there, you're like, oh, I really want to drink, but you don't drink. And, that can work. And that works for me for multiple periods of time. I stopped drinking with willpower for 3 months here, 6 months there. I did have some success with that method, but it never worked long term. There would always be a day where I'd be tired, I'd be, fed up, I'd feel really good, and then I'd drink again. So that didn't work for me either. Going to church, religious approach. I remember one day, it's horrible to admit, but there was a Sunday morning when a friend of mine, he was doing an apprenticeship in a tattoo shop, and the owner of the shop, he's called Mark, was a Christian, or is a Christian, and he was very evangelical. He'd always encourage us to go to church. I remember he didn't know I was there. I remember going there at 10 a.m. in the morning after staying up all night. I got to the back of the church, I dropped to my knees and just burst into tears. And, maybe God did guide me to finding the solution that I did, but I didn't take a religious approach. So I want to explain what I did, because it might work for you. I think there's a very good chance it will work for you, because it's not just worked for me. It's worked for hundreds of my clients. It's worked for tens of thousands of people who have watched this channel. It worked for David, who you can see on the screen now. It worked for Todd, who you can see on the screen now. Art. I mean, there's been dozens and dozens of people. And a lot of my clients were like seriously heavy drinkers. I'm talking, some of them were drinking up to 2 bottles of vodka a day. I didn't drink like that. So this method works. So what I did is I did something called first principles thinking. Now, if you haven't heard of first principles thinking, what I'll do is I'll link to an interview down below of Elon Musk explaining what it is and how it works. And essentially, in a nutshell, first principles thinking is breaking a problem down into its component parts and then putting them back together to create like a new worldview. So he often uses an example of building a rocket. He goes to society. He says, hey, society, how do I build a rocket? How much does it cost? Society says, $60 million. He then breaks the rocket into its principles, into its first principles. He looks at the cost of the staff, the warehouse, setting up the company, all of these different things. And he works out the actual price of the rocket is like $6 or $7 million, right? So then he goes and builds his own rocket. And he uses this problem-solving framework all the time. And there have been many great people that use this problem-solving framework in many big businesses where they have to make big, major decisions. Now, the problem with first principles thinking is that it's taxing, right? It takes a lot of time. If you were to go and have to study, where am I going to find the perfect warehouse, right? How am I going to find the perfect CEO to run this company that's going to build these rockets? How am I going to find the engineers? That is taxing. A lot of people would rather just pay the $60 million and then be done with it. But there's certain things in life where first principles thinking makes sense. So I'll give you an example. Choosing a new car, first principles thinking doesn't really matter that much. So if you're, let's say you're in the market for a luxury car and you're thinking of a Porsche, a BMW, or a Mercedes. Are they going to be that different? Probably not. Are you going to go and study every single detail of the car? Look at every single warranty, the tires, the horsepower. Yeah, maybe you will if you're a car enthusiast, but I don't know. When I bought my last car, I was just like, yeah, I like that car, I'll buy it. I didn't reason from first principles. I just made a quick decision. Maybe that was a mistake, but hey, I'm just giving you an example. I'm sure you can think of other examples. Now, an example of where I will use first principles thinking is when I choose a school for my child. When my child is ready for education, by the way, we're not pregnant yet, we're trying, but when it comes to choosing a school and an area to raise that child, I will use first principles thinking. I will think of every detail. I'll think of, the other kind of kids that are there, the education, the teachers, the location, how good they do at sports, what their academic performance is like. I will do true first principles thinking because to me, that's a major decision that should require a lot of thought. One of the problems with alcohol is people don't treat that problem like they treat other major problems. They just kind of wing it, right? They're blasé. They're like, yeah, I'll just stop. I'll just do this. And they never change anything. And to me, it's a recipe for disaster. I tried that approach for almost 10 years. And once I finally committed myself to solving that problem and I went all in and I said, you know what? This problem keeps showing up. It's causing so much pain, so much damage. And I knew that if I could fix that problem, everything in life would get better. I thought to myself, why don't I treat this problem seriously? And that's what I did, right? And that's what I did. I treated this problem the same way I'd treat, like a major health problem that I get. If I got a major health problem like cancer or something like that, I know I'm going to get a good doctor and whatever, but I'm also probably going to read every scientific paper that I can find and I'm going to learn as much as I can about it because I want to just be fully informed on that thing. Bad example, but hopefully you're getting the idea. What you need to do if you want to stop drinking alcohol and you want to find it easy is you need to spend time understanding what the heck is going on. Why do you drink? Right? Why do you drink? Why do you drink more than you want to? Why do you get addicted to this in the first place? Why does society see alcohol this way? How have we been conditioned to see it? What messages are going into our mind? And we need to study the individual component parts of addiction, of alcohol, and society's view on alcohol. And I promise you one thing, once you do that, it's like a light bulb goes off. You stop buying into the lies, you stop buying into the nonsense, and stopping drinking alcohol becomes the easiest thing you've ever done. I promise you, I have not struggled once. It's been it's been easier than brushing my teeth. That's what I mean. Because I didn't actually do anything. I just stopped doing something. And stopping doing something's not hard, but it's only hard if you romanticize about alcohol, if you still see alcohol as a good thing. First principles thinking changed my life. To just illustrate how it looks, right? Because if you look on the screen now, you can see that you've got a problem, and then you just literally break the problem down into its component parts, you study them, put them back together, and then you have a new world view. And that's what I call being sober clear. Being sober clear is not being sober, right? It's not just using willpower and not drinking alcohol. It's not just taking a break. Being sober clear is a totally different frame of mind. You just have changed the way you view alcohol. You make one simple decision and that's it. You move on with your life. Now, if you actually want help doing this, if you want to work together and I'll take you through my process where we use first principles thinking, let's work together. Click the link in the description, book a call. Hundreds of others have already done it. Why don't you as well? Can you do it on your own? Of course you can do this on your own. But I promise you, it's probably going to take you about 300 hours. probably cost you a lot of money, and the chance of success will just be lower. Can you do it on your own? Yes, I'm not saying you need to join my program, but if you want to do it faster, then click the link, book a call. You've got absolutely nothing to lose, but I promise you this, you've got so much to gain. So click the link down below. Let's use first principles thinking together, and I'll speak with you soon.